Greetings and welcome to Hex Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we'll be taking a first look at the game The 12th Battle, the Caporetto campaign, 1917, from Hexasim and designed by Hermann Luttman. So this is, as you might guess, a First World War game. It is a solitaire game, and we'll take a quick look at the back of the box. So as you can see, the 12th Battle is a solitaire war game that simulates the Central Powers offensive in Italy that began on October 24th, 1917, with an all-out assault around the town of Caporetto. Okay, so you have the Germans and the Austro-Hungarians attacking the Italians with some support from the British and French. And in the game, you will be the Central Power forces and must attempt to achieve a level of success exceeding that which they were able to historically obtain. So it is a one-player game. Playing time is 2 hours. Complexity is low. You can see what we get in the box: a map, 36 cards, 2 counter sheets, 4 player aids, 6 dice, and a rule book. And you can see some examples of what's in here. 14 and up, 1 player, 2 hours. All right, now let's look inside the box. Okay. All right, here we go. So we have our cards, right? So the deck of 36 cards, we'll take a look at those in a moment. 6 six-sided dice. And we've got a packet that's actually in plastic. So this is going to have, of course, our player aids, map, counters, and rule book. So let me cut into this. Okay. Rule book. Yep, that's the map. So let's look at the rules first. This is the order in which I typically do things. So you can see the rule book runs approximately 24 pages. Yep, 24 pages. Okay, so we have our introduction, list of components, our terrain types, mountain spaces, hill, city, clear, and some special features, frontline spaces, Piave line spaces, muster spaces, bridge spaces, etc. Different supply statuses for each space. Green is supplied, yellow limited, and red strained. And then down here we've got transit lines, and various features are drawn across some transit lines. These represent crossings and encumbrances that exist when traveling or attacking along that transit line into the connected space. We've got trenches, we've got bridges. Then you have your counters over here. So you can see the nationalities. The Austrians are kind of a darker purplish gray. German gray, Italians are green, French are blue, British are like a tan. Then you have a fresh side and a battle-worn side. That's kind of a Luttman standard. And then we have the reformed side in the case of Italian units, which is a little bit different. It says here, this is the backside of Italian unit counters with a dark green stripe, which is shown up here. Actually, it's not. Oh, it's right here. Right there. And this represents a unit that has been reformed after its initial disintegration. It is a physically smaller combat unit, but one that has maintained its core veterans and been reinforced by enthusiastic new recruits. So that's a little bit different than battle worn, which is the case for the other nationalities in the game. That means that they are permanently weaker and worn out. The values are lower than the fresh side, and once battle worn, a unit can never flip back onto its fresh side. That's not true in some other Luttman games, but it is true in this one. We have our unit army ID. The identity, its strength points, which is in red. Then we have the artillery factor, the defense rating, the morale rating, etc. We'll go into the specifics when we do gameplay. Then you have unit markers, trench garrison, city garrison, rear guard, game chits and markers, Allied Army activation cards. So there are 2 decks of 18 Allied Army activation cards each. So that is the 36 cards that come with the game. One is the Cadorna deck, and the other is the Diaz deck. So this looks like this would be the Diaz deck on top, right here. And if we go through here, let's see, Diaz and card Cadorna. You begin the game with the Cadorna deck, and we'll switch to the Diaz deck at the instance Cadorna is dismissed. So these would be the commanders, right? These cards are drawn when an Italian army activates or when the Commando Supremo chit is activated. Game tracks, player aids, six-sided dice that are used to resolve combat, morale tests, and other game functions. We will need an opaque cup. Luckily, I have one. Let's see, what else? Key concepts. So, key concepts, you have your units, captured space. Space is captured when a Central Powers unit is in the space with no allied unit. Use the provided captured markers to help you keep track of confusing situations. The captured marker is removed as soon as an allied unit is in the space without any CP unit. CP frontline spaces are never considered as captured, but they may be lost. You got your Central Power units and a lost space. This is a CP frontline space that is lost when an allied unit is in the space with no CP unit. Use the provided lost markers to help keep track of confusing situations. Lost marker is removed as soon as a CP unit's in the space without any allied unit. So that's basically controlling enemy space, right? When the Central Powers capture an allied space, they get this, and the opposite side is the lost space when an allied unit takes a Central Powers space. Sequence of play. Deploy allied army activation chits phase. Central Power activation points phase. Central Power heavy artillery and storm battalions phase. CP army activation phase, allied army activation phase, end phase, victory point phase, and record game turn phase. Then this goes through how you activate the allied armies. There are 5 allied activation chits: First Armada, Second Armada, Third, Fourth, and Commando Supremo. Place them face down on the table, showing the common backside. Mix the chits and randomly place any one, still face down, into each of the 5 allied activation spaces on the activation chart. Spaces 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. This deployment indicates the order of activation for the allied armies and the Commando Supremo, which will not be known until they are revealed. Then we have the activations for the player side, which is the Central Powers. You roll 2 dice, add them together. The sum is the total available activation points, granted you for the next Central Powers activation. You place the activation points marker in the numbered space of the activation points track, equaling the total available activation points. You have 5 CP activation chits: the 10th, 11th, 14th armies, the Isonzo army, and event. Choose one eligible chit, a chit that has not yet been activated this turn, and place it on the next unoccupied CP space on the army activation track in spaces 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. This is the currently activated Central Powers army, and it will use the current total available activation points for its activation. This placement of the CP army or chit on the activation track indicates the army is activated and not eligible to be activated again this turn. Then go to 6 and 7. So you have an event marker as well. So there are events in the game. You may use any AP dice roll of any sum to activate the event activation chit if not already activated. If activated, place the chit onto the activation track normally, then roll 2 dice on the Central Powers event table and enact the instructions given on the table result. Once this is concluded, proceed with the allied army activation. Okay? And we have a heavy artillery and storm battalion phase. And do not perform this if you enacted the event chit. Okay? So, yeah, you have heavy artillery markers and storm battalions. Again, I don't want to go overly much into this, trying to keep it reasonably short. In the army activation phase for the Central Powers, you have various actions you can do. You can move 1 space, you can bombardment, combat attack, assault, combat attack, regroup, and remove 1 adjacent blown bridge marker. So basically repair a bridge. And that's here. And then there's descriptions for each of those actions, your movements. It tells you how many activation points you need to enter various spaces. How much it costs to do a bombardment attack, how much it costs to do assault, regroup, and then the blown bridges. Then once it's complete, and they give you a nice example here. Again, I'm not going to read rules too much. We'll go into everything when we play. Allied Army activation phase. And then they have these orders: hold at all costs, defend, fighting, withdrawal, retire, abandon position, attack, assault. Then you have your Commando Supremo. And that has 4 different orders that can be issued. An allied event: build 1 or 2 Piave line trenches, rally armies, and dismiss Cadorna. Then your end phase: figure out your victory points. When you talk about territory captured for victory points, Cadorna losing confidence, the Western Allies react. This is when you start to bring in French and British troops. The Western Front offensive: on the game turn after total victory points reaches 100 or more, starting on game turn 8, whichever is first, you must send German troops to the Western Front. At the very start of each game turn from this turn forward, flip over 1 German unit to its battle-worn side, or eliminate an already battle-worn German unit. Record game turn phase, and then you've got details on how bombardment combat works, how assault combat works. I like the artwork. That's pretty nice. Applying hits, taking morale tests, retreating, command assets. So these let you do various things. You can have you can spend command assets as if they are activation points. You can keep a storm battalion marker. Reroll all your dice, improve supply level temporarily. I do know that the supply level of the space, like a unit's never going to be out of supply, but it hampers you in other ways if it's low. Line of communication, special markers like heavy artillery, and your storm battalions, trenches, city garrisons, rear guards, how you figure out your victory points. Historically, the Central Power scored 125, so a draw is 121 to 130. Below that, of course, would be various levels of defeat, and above it would be various levels of victory. You get an overwhelming victory with more than 160, and a critical defeat with less than 91. Then you've got scenarios. We have On to the Piave. This scenario may be played as a tutorial, or if you only have time for a quick game, this plays exactly like the standard scenario On to Rome, with the following significant changes. And then we have some rules for that. We'll talk about it when we play, as I mentioned. And then this is the main scenario On to Rome. Okay, and it's a 10-turn game. Got our credits here. And that is the rules. So now let's take a look at, let's look at some of the cards while we've got them out. So here's Cadorna. This is his deck. There should be 18 of these. I'm not going to count them. And then you can see what's on here. And you have various things for the various potentially activated armies, right? So you draw your card and you'll get an order based on the color of the army, which runs from 1st through 4th, plus the Commando Supremo, which then has some icons on here that tell you what to do. And so you'll see similar things on all of these, right? And then Diaz will have the same kind of thing. So this is the Diaz deck. Same kind of thing, except you can see here, we've got French and BEF as well down here. So those are the cards. We'll save the map. This is the map. We'll save that. Take a quick look at the counter sheets. Okay, so you can see here captured space and lost space on its other side. Then we have depleted, shaken, And on the other side, broken and disrupted. So these are markers. And then the other counter sheet will have our units on it, I'm guessing. Yes, they do. So here you can see the Italian armies, the first, the second, I'm guessing the third is somewhere over here. There's the third, they're red. And the fourth is blue, so they're color-coded, as we saw in the cards. Then you have the Central Powers here. So these are the Austrians, and these are the Germans. They also have various armies. Then we've got some French units here, some British units, 2 BEF units. And then the Italians, some garrisons, some rear guards, some aircraft. There's the heavy artillery, trench garrisons, activation finished, your victory points, game turn. There's our commander marker. There's the Sturm battalions. All kinds of interesting things here. Allied artillery, etc. And of course, on the back side, you can see the green stripe here on the Italian units. These would be their rebuilt, reorganized units, as opposed to the battle worn, which would be like this one on the Austrians. Okay, then we have player aids that we'll take a quick look at. Here's our game turn track with all the various tracks. So your game turn, your activations, your points, AP, command assets track, victory points, and Cadorna. I keep wanting to say Cardona, but it's Cadorna. All right, that's that. And that is the activation chits. Then we have player aid, which goes through the various phases. This is the CP stuff. As you can see, right? Very good. There's our sequence of play. Allied army orders, so you get what each order will entail. And again, we'll see this when we play. And then on this side, here's the Commando Supremo stuff. So you have an allied event. You can build some trenches, rally your armies, and dismiss Cadorna, and then the rules for the British and the French, and universal priorities for their orders, I would assume. Here's the events table for the CP. Roll 2 dice, add them together. So you have all quiet, German supply trains arrive, Austrian hunger and ammo shortage, Rommel attacks. Oh, a little Irwin appearance here. Erwin Rommel. German controlled skies, the walk to Rome, mountain snowstorms, and captured horses. Then the Allied events on the other side, subversive communist propaganda, Italians blow bridges, German fear, all quiet, Isonzo campaign fatigue, they shall not pass, mountain snowstorms, and Western power, heavy artillery assistance. All right. Now we'll take a look at the map. So I'm going to pause here because I need to adjust my shot to fit it. Okay, so here's the look. Here's our map. Now, it's heavy cardstock, and it's not particularly laying flat for me at the moment, but it is fresh out of the box, so I can forgive that. And I will probably put some plastic over it, so that we can lay it flat and play the game nicely. But you can see some of the different areas and the different terrain, along with your cities and so on. The trench line is running along here. Here's the Isonzo, and it runs along all the way up here in kind of a humped shape, I guess. Starts here and goes around. So you've got France over here, and the British enter through Mantua. The French enter through Brescia and Verona. And you can see all of the spaces. Here's Venice or Venezia, and so on and so forth. You see bridges, clear terrain, some mountainous terrain, which you would expect in northern Italy, and so on. And then you have boxes to hold your artillery and storm battalions. And the cards go down here, and your reforming Italian units would go in this box here. So that is a look at the map and the game itself. That's going to do it for the video as well. I do appreciate you guys taking a look. Hope you found this interesting or useful, or maybe even both. Quick shout out to my 2 subscribers, Guardian, who is a tier 1 subscriber, and Tom Marshall, who was my original first subscriber and is a tier 2 subscriber. You can join the channel if you wish to become a member. Just click the join button at the bottom of the video player on YouTube, and you can watch a video explaining what the various perks of those 2 tiers are. Please consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing if you're not a subscriber. If you are, I appreciate the support. And hope everyone found it interesting, even if they don't want to do any of the things I just mentioned. Maybe you'll come back and check out something else down the road. That is totally fine with me. But yeah, I appreciate all the support and everything that everyone has provided, and I just want to say thank you. But we are done for now. Anything to say, you can put it in the old comment section. I'll do my best to reply as soon as I can. We will be doing gameplay for this game here shortly, probably within a few days or so, I would think, because it's a Hermann Luttman game, which I greatly enjoy. Typically, I have yet to have a bad experience playing one of his games. That, I think, says it all. But we are done. So until next time, I am Joe. This is the Hexed Encounter channel, and as always, happy gaming.